In this week's Parsha, we're introduced to the story of Yosef and his brothers. The Torah tells us that there was actually a feeling of jealousy and hatred between them. Now, obviously, this wasn't some simple sibling rivalry. It was something of great significance, something that it's really hard for us to comprehend. However, we study the story and we see what message lies in it for us. The story goes on how the brothers threw Yosef into a pit and end up selling him as a slave. Yosef ends up in the land of Egypt, all alone as a young man. He gets a job by a man named Potiphar. After a little while, Potiphar accuses him for some immoral behavior, and Yosef is thrown into prison. It is at that moment that things suddenly take a turn. No one could have guessed that. Yosef walks in, and the prison guard says, "Hey, Yosef, you're the man I was looking for. I want you to run the entire facility." And he says, "Because I see that everything that you do, you're successful at." Now, to me personally, this last statement is from the most puzzling statements in the entire Torah. Here you have a young man, a young boy, whose own brothers disowned him. He's a stranger in a foreign land. He finally gets a job only to be thrown into prison. And when things hit rock bottom, he is told that whatever he does, he's successful at. What is that? Some type of a mean joke? What's the meaning of this? There was once an actor, we'll call him Joe. One morning, Joe gets a phone call from his agent, and he says, "Joe, there's this film being produced in the near future, and I want you to get the main role. I'm sending you the script. Get back to me as soon as possible." The next morning, the phone rings. It's Joe. He tells his agent, I read the script. I see the plot, but there's no way I'm taking this part." His agent says, "Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? This is your moment." Joe says, "Yes, I may have the leading role. However, the leading role is to be a loser, to be a poor person, a nobody. I can't have people judge me like that. There's no way I'm taking this," and he hangs up the phone. Now, obviously, this story never took place. Why is that? Because every actor knows that he'll be judged by one thing and one thing only, and that is how well he executed his part and how well he played his character. And it makes no difference if his character is someone successful or not. People are not going to judge him by that because that script was pre-written. Our lives are very similar. We come down to this world, but the script of our lifetime experience was written way before we were even born. Our family, our business life, our social life was all written and tailor-made for us by God Himself. It is our job to come down and use our God-given talents to play our part. Now, don't get me wrong. You could have someone that says, "Hey, it's all pre-written. Let me just kick back and read the paper the whole day." Such a guy is doomed to fail, and he's the only one to blame. However, somebody that honestly puts in all the effort, but after all that, the outcome doesn't match his expectations, and he feels dejected. He feels like a failure. The Torah is telling us that that's the wrong attitude. Because if you put in the correct effort, you played your part, then you were successful. Because that outcome was pre-written by God Himself, and that's what He decided. Yosef may have experienced many setbacks in his life, but he knew that all of that was at no fault of his own. That's where God put him. And he realized that he tried his hardest. He played his part to the best of his abilities. So he walked around with a feeling of self-confidence. He walked into that prison with his shoulders high because he knew that he was successful at what he did. And that is what everyone saw. If we live our lives with that attitude, we're suddenly enveloped with a feeling of calmness and tranquility. And we're able to focus on what's important in our life and the great mission that Hashem has in store for us. Have a great Shabbos.